for the rest of the afternoon. So I'll be having a full-length lecture about our course today. We have not have our Google Meet last time, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So you know the rules on the our Google Meet. So I'll leave all the microphones to be available anytime you want. But let me remind those who are unaware of using their cell phones that sometimes you really have to check whether your mic is on or off. Okay, always turn it up so that I may not be disturbed by the noise of your area. And then I'll be asking you guys to open your cam when you are talking. Okay, not just a microphone. Would that be okay? So I know some of you has have some difficulty still with our connectivity, and but we have to go on and proceed. So part of my ways forward with regards to the issues of internet connection is that um, I'll be asking you guys to group. So maybe you can make use of this Google Meet to call the attentions of your friends and or comment here on the side. So I'll check in our Google Classroom how many are we in our class. It's 30. So meron pa bang nadagdag? Meron pa bang mga friends who were not added here? So far I have invited 30 and I have here all the 30. Let me update NDU Chismis. NDU Ismis pala, sorry. Let me check to NDU Ismis, the academic module. If for the last time, I know that the last registration was last Tuesday, I think. But I have to check on Ismis whether nadagdagan ba tayo by number. If you have some batchmates or friends who are supposed to be with us and still not yet part of the class, can you invite them or tell me if they're not yet here? So far, this is CBMEC 1 to 4 Saturday schedule. It's on my list from ISMIS. It's still 30 students. So we're still 30 in a class. So I'm expecting 10 groups, okay, with 3 members. Each group will have 3 members. So I'll post in a stream, in our Google Classroom stream, and I want you to comment, okay, the family name, the ID number, and family name, of your group members. So that's how I'm going to address some issues with connectivity. At least when you're going to miss a long hour Google Classroom meet, you could be able to have someone to ask to. And then or maybe through Messenger. They can send you messages and some of the requirements for you to be updated of what is happening. Because when signal is weak, we can still continue with our messages through Messenger. And even if this is something I know, and even if we don't have loads ata, we can still send messages through Messenger. May Pray Data access ka lang, you just make use of the applications of Pray Data. Kaya nakaka-access pa rin daw yung mga messages through that. Okay, I asked you to go over with our materials. Did you try to check our materials? First, I have to check. Did I attach the materials? Baka nakalimot ko. Okay, I did attach the Google Classroom orientation. I think this is not unfamiliar to everyone. The strategic management book where we are going to get the cases. And then okay. How many of you got a copy of the course pack already? Sana all nakakuha na ng course pack. Is there anyone who failed to visit NDU and get the course pack? Meron na ba lahat? Okay. Silence means yes. Tara, klase na tayo. Ready? Okay, after browsing the materials, is there any question or clarification? Guys, please do some arrangement with your group mates and then comment to the stream because I'm looking at the stream. It's still no comments. Okay. Arrange with your group mates. Naririnig po ba ako? Hindi
Yes,
niyo ako
sir.
naririnig.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Naririnig po.
Yes,
At least
sir.
may nag-yes. Okay, thank you. So, grupo siguro tayo muna, no? So that when I'm going to have some instructions, mas madali na siguro sa inyo mag-arrange while I'm talking here. You can arrange something. You can function your group page or group chat. Okay. So, pwede ko nang malaman kung sino-sino ang kasama nyo sa grupo ninyo. We're 30, so 'di ba by 3 kasya lahat. So 10 grupo ang meron ako dito. So I want you to group with your friends and as much as possible, someone who you can work, someone who can be, trusted when conditions may not be perfect. Meron na tayo. Okay, just the student number, ID number, and the family name of the group members. So while you're preparing that, let me introduce to you to our materials. Okay, so I'll be needing you to have your own course pack because that will be part basically of our requirements, and at the same time the book because that's where we are going to go back if things are not so clear under course pack. And then if, of course, the cases will be coming from our book. I have been using Fred David since 2003 when I started teaching strategic management right after my MBA study leave. I was out of school for 2 years. Wala ako sa NDU, so I stayed in Davao. So after 2 years, when I came back, this was the subjects. This was the subject that my program head wanted me to develop. So it just so happened that my MBA days requires us a lot with strategic management, and we're using Fred David. So matagal naman yun, siguro baka pwede ko na magkwento ng konti yung mga companies na natrabaho ko. I have work with the Buy and Tell. Buy and Tell as a company as one of my endeavor in my MBA days with regards to strategic planning as a group output. And then an individual output, I work as at the BPI San Pedro, close na ngayon, where I work on their NPAs. NPAs, hindi yung mga rebelde ha, yung mga non-performing assets. I conducted the strategy planning for disposing these non-performing assets or NPAs. So I had several meetings with some managers, okay, and then I have to visit the sites, and I have to check out regular bulk of data. Imagine yung mga folders na I really have to browse. I'm checking on some of the dates because I cannot access their online records, so I have to access it from raw. So pinaghirapan kong gapangin yung pag-i-age ng mga non-performing assets. Well, anyway, and then I submitted as my another presentation practice presentation was the strategic planning of the UMEX, the one that is in front of NDU now, where the small stalls for canteen operations. Kita niyan. Dati kasi isa yung corporations ng mga teachers, tsaka empleyado, tsaka ng NDU as a commercial complex. So, ang tawag nila dyan noon is UMEX. Ngayon, UMEX pa rin ang tawag niya. Bearing the name, the building is named as UMEX. And you know, the meaning of UMEX is University Marketing Exponent. It started as a cooperative of teachers, but eventually changed to, it's a cooperative. Hindi pala siya nag-corporation. Okay, co-op pa rin siya. Tapos, when hindi, nag-corporation sila kasi nung liquidation time na, when it was sold back to NDU, saka nagbentahan talaga sila ng mga shares nila, and it was liquidated and assumed by NDU so that UMEX can return the money to the rest of the members. And that sense the history of UMEX. I also, during that time when I work in 2001 ata yun, 2002, I work with the strategic planning of that company because I was a working student then in that UMEX in anong year ba yun? 1998 or 1999. I was a working student. 1996 kasi 97 ako graduate ng NDU. Working student ako ng Notre Dame University, ng UMEX, NDU UMEX. Not with NDU kasi separate entity ang UMEX. Okay? And then, kaya medyo may easy access ako to information in terms of information. So, ganun ang trabaho ng strategic planning. You really have to get into the right engagement and then conduct sessions with them. So since online tayo, the challenge is how are you going to do your strategic planning process? Okay, so I'll explain everything to the requirements. Okay, your first requirement will be the cohesion case. So the cohesion case, though in our course pack we have a cohesion case, Last year, I used the cohesion case of your course pack. Ano ba yung cohesion case ng course pack? I forgot. Parang Starbucks ata yon. Okay? Issue on Starbucks, late opening or always cancellation of opening in India. Okay? So this time, we will be working McDonald's. So this is the time when McDonald's acquire a certain beverage company. Kung nahalata ninyo, medyo masarap at medyo kakaiba ang serving ng mga coffee mix ng McDonald's nowadays. It's a product of their acquisition of one major coffee or beverage company, coffee beverage company of uh, United States. So that is why one of their competitors, sino na nagbasa? One of their competitors now is Starbucks. Okay? So the first requirement, cohesion case. What is that for? When we say cohesion case, so everything that we're going to work in the class will be attached to it or based on the cohesion case. Then this cohesion case will provide us all the information we need, and then it will satisfy all the forms, worksheets, and other stages of strategic planning process of uh, of the company of our course will be applied into this case. So, kumbaga, we call it practice case. Okay, the cohesion case. But every case assignment will always be a practice. Okay, but the practice case where you are going to first introduce your skills in building some of the tools will be using the cohesion case or the McDonald's in our case this term. So the second requirement is that I'll be asking you to prepare a two adapted cases. So these two adapted cases, you're going to decide later on. So you're going to pick up now from the book. Please identify which of those cases will fit to your case. Okay. Mamaya, I'll be asking you to comment your two cases, paunahan. So ngayon pa lang, gumawa na kayo ng paunahan na kayo. Silently try to negotiate with the other group na kunin nyo na yung case sa inyo ito. Okay? May nag-comment na ba dun sa group natin? Okay, very good. May nag-comment na. So I'm going to post another stream. Okay? Kung sino yung nag-comment ng grupo, siya rin ang magko-comment ng cases. Okay. So we just termed it adapted cases. So when we say adapted cases, it has something to do with the cases coming from the book where you are going to practice the entire process of strategic management process. For class level discussions or plenary discussions, we will be having the practice case or the cohesion case. For first oral defense exposure per group, we will be using the adapted cases. But you have to decide, you have to consider after you have studied the content of the case and you have worked partially, then you really have to decide as a group which of this case we can manage to defend on presentation. Take note, which of those two cases can be defended better if you're going to have your oral presentation. So there's a certain date that I'll be asking you to really identify, okay, that you can present your case. And then we'll be asking another group to serve as your panel. So and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm asking you now your groupings, your group members, because I'll be plotting eventually. I'll be coding your group numbers. So these group numbers will be coded, and then after that, I'll put a schedule by coding so that we will have a schedule of oral presentation. So your adopted cases, one case will be for presentation, and the other one is for written submission. So the two cases you're going to adopt, you have to decide which one will be for presentation and which one for submission. So I'm trying to hit two requirements, but I'm also exposing my students to more repetition of the process. According to Lao Tzu, if we keep on repeating things, we could be able to learn further. Okay? So kaya we have been repeating the process 3 times already, right? One with the cohesion case as our practice. The second level will be the two cases simultaneously where we have to decide which one we are going to present and which one we're going to submit as a final work. So after that, I think we're confident enough that we could be able to have our final work using an actual company. So I'm not saying that the adapted cases are not actual company, because these are ready-made content, case content. Okay, the actual company, meaning to say, it's the case is being authored by your group. So that's the difference between the adapted cases. The adapted cases is being authored by somebody else, and together with the cohesion case, it's already authored by someone else, somebody else, and then we're able to study it and we're able to apply the strategic management process to it. But the last and final requirements is you're going to be in both sides. You will be the writer of the case, and you will be the one to answer the case. Okay, so that is our requirements for the entire semester. But it doesn't mean that we're going to do it by stages, because if you're going to wait to finish the practice before you prepare the adapted case, before you prepare the actual case, okay, mahirap yon. We could not be able to finish it on time at madelay kayo by then, hindi natin masubmit yung mga requirements. So how about examinations? So promise guys, examinations here not school ito. You're not going to memorize what is the meaning of that, what are the instructions. Okay, what is important in this class is that the procedures that you could be able to practice and perform. So this is a course where outcomes are well defined. So we make sure that students will be able to write at least from first objective is that students could be ethical factors. Students could be able to write directions, objectives and directions. Then students could be able to write a total case, a complete case. So hindi marunong kayong magsagot-sagot ng tanong, but this is about creating also the questions. And that is for developing your own case. So in your course pack, I want you to, because I'm going to explain the strategic management model, because that's where we're going to adapt our process. I'll be asking you to open a particular page in your course pack, or maybe you can open that in your book kung meron. Pero kung sana naman kung nandyan ang course pack para nasa page 3 po. Okay? Sino yung mga may course pack na? You can open the page 3. There's a comprehensive strategic management model. I'll try to browse some models here. Meron pa kaya dito? Okay. Sige, anyway, magtagal pa ako mag-browse. Mm, in your, i-open ko kaya yung ating book. By the way, for those of you who browse the book, how it was organized or it was developed, you notice that repeatedly in every introduction of the chapter, we will always be reading the model. The book would always insert in the earlier introductions of every chapter about the model, because the entire book is actually each chapters of the book are integrated in the model, in the framework. So kung nahalata nyo yon, paulit-ulit makikita nyo yung strategic management model. So there might be some difference for purposes of presentation between the course pack and the book. Probably because I opted to have the simple one, but actually by its sense and purpose, andyan na rin lahat. Tinanggal ko lang yung global perspective, integrations of global perspective, and to yung ethics and other concerns. They put in that into the model, but even in the past, not reflected in the model, it's still part of the content of the course. Okay. So nagbukas na yung PDF. Later, pag nakuha ko yung particular area or mabagal mag-open. Okay, but you have your course pack, right? Na-open nyo na ba yung page 3?
Yes, sir. Na-open na po.
One yes, please. Okay. Sige, nasa page 3 na ninyo ang model, no? Okay, you will see there are some arrows. Observe the arrows first. Okay, the arrows are putting a directions coming from the bottom, going up, from the top, going down. And observe the directions so that the model will have a sense when we are working on the process. So the first box, okay, the intersection box, the first area of intersection box is what we call the area of cross analysis. Okay, you will see there that we will be working on vision, mission, long-term objectives, internal and external analyses. So probably as you go along with cases, these are the 4 areas that you should look at. Okay, and in my context of presentation, I may, lalo na dun sa SWOT analysis, a picture of a SWOT. Let me check anong particular page para kasi you got used to the 4 boxes of SWOT analysis, but in our context we'll be working on ilang box. Okay, we have a sample box in page 110 in your course pack. Okay, you'll notice that in the page 110, this is a picture of cross analysis. Okay? Let me point out. Slowly lang kasi baka yung iba hindi makasunod. Okay? Andyan pa ba kaya yung iba? Baka iniwanan nyo lang ako ng picture. Tapos magsisihan tayo ha? Pagkatapos.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mahirapan naman akong kausap pag during defense. Okay. On the cross analysis that I'm trying to explain based on the intersection that is happening, notice nyo the arrow between these four items. The arrow is going to the right. So the arrow did not go back to uh, external, did not go back to internal. So whatever is injected there as external environment and as internal environment will be injected together with the vision and the long-term objectives. So how are we going to see that in the SWOT analysis? This is not part of the book. This is how we practice as a professions, as our profession. You notice in page 110, look at the page 110. When we do the SWOT analysis, the cross analysis, we cross analyze the the internal and the external, and then we cross it with our objectives and the vision mission. So in these 9 boxes in page 110, the SWOT matrix, you will notice that what was written in the first box. Okay, I'll call the first box at the center, no, yung sa pinaka, ano ba yan? Top left most of your uh, course pack. Nakita niyo doon, vision, mission, objectives. So that's where the two items, no? The vision, mission, and the long-term objectives can be found.
Yes, sir.
Nakita niyo, nakasulat dyan, may vision, may mission, may objectives.
Yes, sir.
And then the two sides of working on the internal and external factors are actually the exterior of this SWOT matrix. Exterior meaning to say yung nasa taas banda at saka nasa inyong left side. Ang interior boxes, we call interior boxes itong apat. Yung SO, WOST, at saka WT labeled boxes. So this 9 boxes is a product of cross analysis. So again, we're going to analyze. We are trying to compare the strengths and the opportunities, and then try to develop an idea coming from these two sides of the environments. Because this environment will push us to create an activity, so push us to do something for the company. Then the creation of the new direction will be developed out of the interior boxes. So we are going to consult our existing vision, mission, and objectives, whether that particular idea developed is still working within our vision and within our mission and within our objectives. So if it is not, then we are going to remove that new idea for the company. So if you think that most of the interior box suggests something that doesn't have to doesn't have to subscribe or nor appropriate for the vision mission, then there's another way of doing that. We have to change the vision, mission, and objectives. So meaning to say that the existing vision, mission of the company is no longer relevant per environmental scanning. So pag nag-environmental scanning tayo, we're studying external and internal environment. Okay, so that's the first area. Coming from the cross analysis, the main product of that is actually the strategic direction. Okay, when you're developing a strategic direction, or tawag nila strategies, when we are set to define our strategies, then we completed the first stage of strategic management process, which is the formulation stage. Okay? Then after that formulation stage, compared to the book, kasi ang book kasi may hinati-hating chapter, kaya medyo nag-extend siya ng box for purposes of placing the distribution of these chapters. So, pero yung model na nasa course pack natin is generic siya. Okay? So, mahirap naman kung kopyahin ko yung sa libro na hindi naman ako by chapter nagkopya sa libro. So, by process lang naman yung ating content ng course pack. So the next one is how are we going to implement the strategy? So actually, in the planning process of any organization, this is now where we set our plans. We design our activities. We create our decisions to change the structure or not. So that is where we are going to design our implementation. So In terms of implementation, who will be involved? Of course, all of the organizational divisions of the organizations will be having their own implementing strategies. So kung meron na tayong strategy, this strategy will be translated into a command statement. Okay, even if we are going to say that our strategy is actually a customer focused strategy. So how are we going to translate that customer focused strategy into a direction? So we term that as strategic directions. And this strategic directions is institutionally designed. So meaning to say parang buong organization or organizational level design. And then this particular or one of this particular strategic direction, must be clearly identified to um, either all of the functional divisions or part of the some of the part only of some of the part of functional organization, or it could be a responsibility of one functional division. So hindi natin ma-specify yan unless there is a certain strategic direction that's too focused to finance, then the finance will work on that. But if strategic directions would mean something that is intended for the entire organization that will involve other functions other than finance, then they have to share that strategic directions. So that is why meron tayong operational strategies. So these operational strategies is based on operations and how it is being operationally defined by operations management, by marketing management group, by finance group, by HR group, and other groups in the organization. Okay, so that's how we communicated our strategic management process to the operations level. And then the since we could not be able to wait the entire year to witness the entire organization's a completion of the entire strategic management process, so we can no longer evaluate our identified strategy whether that's good or not. So babaliktad ang scenario natin. We're given a set of scenario like the case, and then we evaluate. Diba? Naunang evaluation natin. We evaluate their performance, and then that will be part of our internal analysis, external analysis. Then ang final end ng requirements natin will be on the design of implementing the strategies. Parang plano. Yun ang pinaka-end ng report, ng process ng classroom requirements on strategic management process. So when we completed the entire process, it is important for me to see in your plans your possible measures of evaluation. So i-incorporate na natin yan. So currently, these practice are actually slowly growing its popularity. And there's another way of naming this kind of practice, that in every plan, there is a certain definition of outcomes. Okay? In NDU, we termed this in the past, I don't know now, alam mo, NDU, pag bagong president, bago na naman takbo. They term it currently BIMOCRA-PIPA. Okay, actually, I'll be using the same term, BIMOCRA-PIPA, because of a certain structure. When Father Ed Tanod was the president of NDU, I get along with him in thinking about strategic management process. I was an admin during his time. So medyo kasundo kami sa mga ideas on strategic management. But for like BIMOCRA-PIPA, inadapt din niya ng NDU. Actually, it's just a combination of all acronyms: vision, mission, objectives, key results areas, CRA-PIPA, performance indicators, plan of activities. Pero sa practice niya, ng arrangement niyan sa process sa classroom is hindi BIMOCRA-PIPA, BIMOCRA-PAPI. So, but NDU would like to term it differently. Ang sa kanila is Bimokrapipa because they would like to define first the performance indicator before completing the final plans. So, currently, after writing the course pack, I got to meet some of the new practice of handling this kind of idea. They term it OKRs. So, yung BEMO, yung naging code lang siya sa objectives. Yung KRA, pinagsama. So, instead of saying Bimokrapipa, some other institutions would call it OKRs. Ganun lang kasimple. They term it now as OKRs, where all of their plans have set of objectives and have set of key results identification. So, yung extended version kasi na Bimokrapipa, let me explain. Yung outcomes kasi, it was splitted into two levels. So, if it is a larger scope of outcomes, they call it KRA because the outcomes is directly identifiable with the objectives. And then, PIPA has something to do with the smaller outcomes based on the definitions of your activities as a response to reaching that KRA. Kaya medyo, di ba sabi ko sa inyo, Bimokrapapi dapat siya. But for the context of NDU, they use it Bimokrapipa. Okay, so I'm using also the terms dito, but I inserted in the content of the course pack the recent practice of aligning the definitions. You know, maalala ko noon, during defense, this is something that they hated about me because I will always question the idea of connections between the parts. Okay? Kaya nga, ini-introduce ko yung Bimokrapipa because I'm telling everyone that it should be connected. Okay, I'll go over the connections. So what do you mean by vision? Something that we wanted to become, right? So, ang tanong, ano bang ginagawa mo for you to be able to do that? So that is your mission. Okay? What is your business? What is your purpose to be able to achieve what you have dreamed of? So kaya kayo nag-aaral na accountancy kasi gusto niyo maging CPA. Tama? So mag-aral kayo ng BSBA tapos gusto niyo maging CPA. Try nyo. Are you getting the point? So kaya nga tayong ginagawa natin, anong ginagawa mo currently, what is your mission will define what kind of vision you're into. So because your vision is actually predefined your mission. So that is why it can be written, no, that this is your mission and this is something you wanted to end up by keep on doing my mission. So kung gusto kong mabuting tao kasi gusto kong mahilangit, so I'm expecting that sobrang bait ka while living on earth. Pag namatay ka, I'm expecting you to be in heaven. Okay? So kasi yun yung something you envision, kaya ka naging mabait kasi gusto mo talaga sure ang pagpunta mo sa langit. So you don't want to go anywhere else. Okay? So, klaro na yung vision, mission. So what is these objectives? These objectives are actually targets. Okay, though may targets din tayo later on. Ulit-ulit lang naman yung objectives. Objectives in different forms, in different names, but actually, all of these objectives, KRAs, performance indicators, in simple word, mo na imong target. Ang gusto gyud nimong igon, ang gusto gyud nimong maabot. Okay? So, the first layer of target is objectives. This is a bigger targets. Okay, so we wanted to, that is why when you write the objective, is it has something to do with sabi nila big words, no? I mean, mga malalaking dapat ma-attain o matapos o magawa. So in the objectives, and then bakit ka nagde-define ng mga objectives na yan? Kasi these are objectives you've attained on the regular basis out of how you perform your missions. You will be able to end up whatever you envision. Am I right? So, kaya kayo nagsiset ng objectives para yung ginagawa ninyo regularly ay masisiguro ninyo papunta kayo doon sa ambisyon ninyo or sa pangarap ninyo, so to what you envision after 4 years. For example, currently in your situation, accountancy ang course ko. That's my mission. I'm doing accountancy course. And I envision myself that I will become a CPA. So at this point in time, taking the course of accountancy is your appropriate mission, right? Okay. So you have to define your objectives every year or every semesters kasi merong cut-off. Okay? Pero ngayon, parang adjusted na ang cut-offs and then unlimited na ang repeats. Parang overall champion ng NDU yan. Walang katapusang repeats. Okay. So, unlimited ng repeat, pero you don't want to stay that long in school. After 5 years ba, na second year ka pa rin sa accountancy, would you still have that mission of taking the course in accountancy? You have to reassess. Maybe you have to change your vision and change your mission, then eventually redefine the objectives. Now, notice niyo yung akyat baba ng effect from objectives to mission to... Okay, if ever everything runs smoothly, for example, first year kayo, objective nyo lang to pass, of course, all subjects, no? So, pagka second year nyo naman, so itatanong mo naman sa sarili mo ang mission mo, mag-accountancy ka ba? Of course, yes, because in your mind, you envision already to become a good CPA someday. Okay, so therefore, you go back to your, still the mission. You keep on doing whatever you are doing right now. So you redefine the objectives by assessing how much have out of this mission. Taasan natin ang level na expectations. Kaya ko pala mag-first honor. So, nag-level up na. Dati pass lang. Ngayon, naka-first honor ka kasi. So, gusto mo naman i-sustain yung pagiging first honor. So, you have to change the objectives. And then, so on so forth, naka-graduate ka. So, right after graduation, I think kailangan baguhin mo ang iyong mission statement. You really have to change the mission. Right? Because you're still with you the thing that you envision, which is to become a CPA. So may kulang pate. You need to work harder pa. But you have to change your mission already because nag-mission accomplished ka na in the taking the course in accountancy. So you have to change na to become a CPA, taking the review course naman. So babaguhin mo na naman yung iyong objectives. So this time, you have to define more focus, more time to spend time with my reviewers and other things. And you might be reducing some of your... I remember one of my former students in accountancy were now CPAs. Actually, some of them really... ano tawag yan sa Facebook? Nag-deactivate sa Facebook. Kasi nga sabi nga, sa strategic management, di ba sabi mo, kailangan namin i-redefine. O sige, i-redefine daw nila ilang objectives. And part of that is to be not so active in their social games, social media, and other things. Ganyan, nag-alis talaga muna sila. Focus muna sa review. Then, maalala ko noon, yung mga bugoy ko noon, Diyos ko, sinusundo ko pa yun sa mga internet cafe. Kasi doon, mga addict sa games. So, yun daw yung mga redirections nila when taking the review. Di daw muna mag-games. Once a week na lang. Okay. Sige, hindi na daw mag-games pero once a week na lang. So, after that, after passing the board exam, you're going to redefine again your siyempre, lagi CPA ka na. So, ang sinabi mo kasi doon, you envision to become a good CPA. So how are you going to become a good CPA when you just passed the CPA board exam? So everything must go on. Change your mission, change your objectives. But the notice nyo in the story is that your characteristics in terms of vision would always be relatively very, very long-term ang statement na vision statement. Ang mission statement, relatively this can work in something number of years, but it has to be revisited. I remember when I started as admin in NDU, they have revisited 2 years before I become an admin. That was in 1998. In 1996 ata, they have started to review the mission vision of NDU. Then from then on, 3 years nilang ginawa noon, naabutan ko pa. There was a time in, anong year ba yon? We conducted to redefine the what do you call that? The objectives of NDU. So sinama na naman nila. Objectives lang ang baguhin ha. Vision, mission, okay na sila. I-redefine lang yung objectives or strategic directions ng NDU. Ang ginawa nila, they invited all of the stakeholders of NDU, students, employees, alumni, friends of NDU, suppliers of NDU, and in an event, grand event of getting ideas using different mediums. Some in an on-site gathering, like Notre Dame University, they have invited all the employees, the janitors, the retirees, the students. Okay, all levels yan kinausap ng NDU. There's a certain guide questions, and then they call and interview some major stakeholders, external partners. They send emails, they call, and then some are for interviews. So lahat ng data na nag-gather kinonsolidate, ganun kadugo. Just to create internal and external environments na critical factors. That's how expensive it is to do a strategic planning on a regular basis. But strategic planning can be done every year, but not that you starting, it's not like that you are starting from zero or from scratch. So currently, recently, we completed the strategic planning of NDU, but we did not change the vision, mission, and strategic directions. We just wanted to enhance the plans. So by enhancing the plans, we revisit the critical factors. And those critical factors were generated in the past. And then we just updated it based on our administrators' contributions to the idea. So only the administrators who participated in that strategic planning. So it depends on the kind of strategic input data that you would want to work with. Kasi kung gusto mo lang naman, pwede namang mga admin mo lang ang mag-work out ng strategic management process. Okay? So, cut lang muna kasi parang ang dami kong sinabi ngayon. At tapos ko na buong libro actually kung ganun lang yung ating pag-uusapan. So, I will entertain some questions bago ako mag-proceed to more detail na mga trabaho. Sige, tanong muna tayo. Any question? Wala? Hindi. May magtanong? Wala pong tanong. Hindi nyo na ata ako kailangan. So, bigyan lang ako requirements. Okay. I think, yes. Sharif, is there anything you would like to raise as a question or something?
Sir,
Yes.
tatlong members lang po ang pwede sa isang grupo?
Yes.
Okay po.
Mm-mm. Sino pa magtanong? Hala? Ibig sabihin, iniwanan nyo lang ako na naka-on lang ang inyong mga, kunwari, nandito kayo sa room na to, pero wala kayo.
Sir, nandito
Okay,
kami, sir.
magro-roll.
Sir, nandito po.
Okay. I want everyone to
Ay,
open the
ay,
camera.
sir.
Open the camera, everyone, so that I could check kung anong itsura nyo. Kasi nakatulog na mo.
Wala akong camera, sir. Walang camera yung laptop.
Okay. Ano ba yan? Ano naman ang damdamin natin ito? Okay, just to check everyone, before we will proceed, baka may gusto kayong itanong or kung wala naman, kayang-kaya nyo na. Tanong muna mga friends. Okay, para makita nyo lang yung yung sinasabi ko na difference between the course pack and the book.
Sir, may
Okay, may
tanong po.
nakikita na kayo. Okay, later. Just to compare, you have your course pack, right? I'm opening the book. Na-notice ninyo, ito lang yung difference natin. Okay, yung implement strategies were divided into the various areas. Okay, may management issues, sineparate nila on the functional divisions of the company. But this is too is actually containing the same, which is the implementation plan. Okay, and then these two things here at the top and bottom of the entire matrix are add-ons, which are the current trend also about global international issues. That's like the worst global issues affecting us, yung pandemic. So nandyan siya sa, they're aware of possible domino effect of some global issues and international issues to our local operations. And then these things are actually we're all aware about it, that when we're setting up business, we have to be responsible about it. There's some ethics required. And ito yung pinaka magastos ngayon na part is yung environmental sustainability. And there are still things that we continue violating the environment, but since we don't have much options yet, kaya ganun lang muna. So that is why they are considering this factor, this additional content of having the strategic management. So these are also important environment because if let's say simbako not da nagyutag kuan, okay, our natural resources, so what will happen? So there will be shifting or baka magkaroon ng ice age movements. So magkaroon pa rin tayo ng epekto sa ating mga negosyo. So that is why everything is included. Okay, I think this environmental sustainability was raised sometime starting in 90s. So medyo matagal na siya pero in recent books now, dahan-dahan na siya nare-recognize ng mga negosyo. Dati pang ano lang yan, kumbaga kung gusto lang ng company na mag-participate sa ganyang klase or hindi. But most likely, I think we have a lot of pressures already being created by this. I think everyone is aware. Even an individual who found a certain company putting some chemicals into the environment can be judged publicly through Facebook. Pero may bago akong nabasa na daanan sa Facebook, yung parang nagbubbles daw yung ilog But akala nila kung ano daw environmental changes, may nagbuhos lang pala doon ng chemicals. So patay ka agad yung mga iilog na yon. So ngayon, sino naman ang kasuhan? And the most recent impact is about yung nahuling barko na i-park doon, i-park, how are you going to call that one? Nakadaong sa Tagalog. In the port of, yung sumabog ngayon sa Lebanon ba yun? Where is that? Oo. So those are important and other social responsibility. Kasi nga, may issues doon. I just take it sa Nightfall Project. Yung pagkuha ng permit ng mga fleet o ng mga malalaking barko, kinukuha sa isang bansa, tapos pag magka-problema, iniiwan na lang yung barko, walang makasuhan, walang klarong ano. So yun, sumabog doon sa kanilang area. Kawawa naman yung bansa na yun. Well, those are important reminders to us that when we do business strategic management process, we do include those other issues. Okay, so klaro na yung difference. I think someone is raising some points. Let me go back to you guys. Okay, ano daw yon? Sino yung salita kanina? I have to stop you because I have to deal with our internet connections because I'm opening the book online. Minsan nag-change ang connectivity natin, connection natin, baka maano ako, wala. Sige. Sino yon? Anong tanong yon?
Yung si Now po, sir, nasa comment section po, sa my chat po.
Okay. Sir, baka po pwede malaman yung mga wala pang kagrupo. Okay, announcement everyone. Wala pa po kasing nakaka-form ng group. I don't know. Paano kung ba malalaman yan kung hindi kayo magko-comment doon sa Google Classroom? Okay, comment muna kayo doon. May nag-comment na ng company. I have 6 groups na siguro. 6 comments na ito. Yung mahirapan maglipat, yung mga nasa cellphones. Si Norjana Matu, ang kagrupo niya, si Usman tsaka si Torsiende. Si Zapra, Rayman, and Abolencia. Si Pancha, Pasaul, and Abdullah. Si Silongan, Pendaliday, Salazar. Si Temak, we have Manuel and Nao. Si Taib ay Henson and Puebla. So most likely, I already have 2, 4, 6 groups. And these 6 groups is already around times 3, it's 18. So apat na lang na grupo, 12 to get a balance of 30. So 4 groups to come. Kung sino man kayo, mag-assemble na kayo ng group ninyo. And then in terms of the, yung mga okay, kanila na, mauna. Ang unang nagmamay-ari, unang naka-comment. So si Walmart tsaka Walt Disney, kinamato. Si Hershey tsaka eBay, kinapancha. Kinasapra, Krispy Kreme, and Starbucks. So Jihada Muhammad Taib, you have to change the Starbucks. Kasi may nauna na nakapag-comment. So it says, so papalitan ko na lang sa inyo ang Starbucks, okay? Sino ba yung sino na-commentan ko? Okay, mahirap pa naman itong comment dito sa sa Google, hindi kagaya sa Facebook ba. Anyway, si Nike nakuha na po, so I have to comment on Silongan na nakuha na po yung Nike. So you have to change Nike. Okay, sino pa ba? Taib, please read also the comments comments of the stream. So gusto ni Taib, Nike and Kraft Food na lang po. Teka muna, Taib. Starbucks. Okay, sa inyo na ang Nike, ano? Okay. Kraft Food. Okay. Okay na to. I'll reply to Jihada. Okay. Kasi sa inyo naman yung Nike, I remove Nike to the group na sumunod nag-comment. Kaila Silongan ko pinaalis yung Nike. Okay? Sige. So, is there anything else? Sino pa yung nagsalita? Yes? Yes po. Okay, yung kay Silongan, anong na-change natin? Silongan, paki-comment yung na-change. Pinaalis ko sa inyo ang Nike, right? Ang hirap kasi ang comment back, nakikita nyo doon is student number. Hindi pangalan ng estudyante na sinagot ko. Ang kaloka talaga itong sistema na to. Anyway, I have to be mindful of what happened. Sige nga, si Salongan, instead of Nike, papalitan nila ng Pepsi Cola. Okay, it's okay na. Okay na po yung Nike and Pepsi Cola. So, Kinatemak, first comment pa lang to, no? Johnson & Johnson's and Avon. Okay. Okay na yan. Johnson's & Johnson's and Avon. Accepted na yan. Wala pang naunan yan. So, pagdating dun sa groupings, 6 pa lang na grupo ang meron ako. So, I'm expecting also that we already have 6 sets of company: Walt Disney and Walmart, Hershey and eBay, Krispy Kreme and Starbucks. So itong Starbucks and Nike magiging Nike and Kraft Food. Okay, next yung Nike and Ford magiging Ford and Pepsi Company. And then, pang-6 is Johnson's & Johnson's and Avon. So, yung 6 na grupo lang ang naka-comment pa lang. So, we already have, I'm settled that these 6 groups already settled with in their own adapted companies. For the remaining group, guys, kindly, I will ask you to work on your respective groups muna, yung mga setup, yung hindi na mention na mga names, ibig sabihin wala pa po kayong grupo. Okay, I'll wait for that. Wala na ba? So mag-set up na po kayo ng grupo ninyo para kung kailangan nating ano yan. Wala nang updates? Wala pa rin. Bagal natin, te. Kuya. Why? What happened to our connection? Napod ba atong problema? Okay. So while waiting for them, let me go back to the requirements. Now you have an overall picture of our requirements. So, sana may remaining, mahaba pang oras ko kasi what will happen after this introduction thing? We will be working in a worksheets. By the way, all the requirements of the course pack will be self-pacing, but you are going to discuss it in a group. So, dahil may grupo kayo, sasagutan nyo lahat ng requirements sa course pack together, but you're going to submit that individually. Okay, when will be the deadline of that one? You really have to work on your own pacing kasi hindi naman tayo lecture type na klase. Okay, we're a type of class that we concentrate on our progress of our work. So ang ano lang natin, meron lang akong plenary progress. So every end of the session, I'll be posting the updated Excel file as our plenary output. And after that, you also update your work. Meaning to say, if we're doing the question case, I'm assuming na natapos nyo na nabasa yung question case, ha, guys? Because I'll be asking you to participate later because all of the tools, yung mga worksheets, gagawin na natin today yung ibang parts, yung mga earlier parts. Okay? So, kailangan ko na ng, for example, I'll show you, naka-present pa ba ako? Okay, I'll present you my earlier template. Actually, hindi siya template talaga. It should be a work in progress template. Okay, nakikita niyo yung yung Excel file. This will be a CBMIC 2 Saturday class. So every end of the sessions, you are going to the Google Class. I'll post in the Google Classroom the updated content of this file. So sa ngayon, part of the main requirement is that, for example, mauna itong activity natin mamaya. So I need you to work on the CPM or Competitive Profile Matrix. Where is that in your course pack? Para guided kayo. This is already in your chapter 3, I think. So, yung chapter 2, dinaanan na natin. By the way, hindi lang natin i-require everyone to have the debate of the chapter 1. Paki-remove yan sa requirements natin sa course pack. On chapter 1, please skip the debate. May debate pa itong chapter 1 eh. Pang classroom kasi talaga yan. So wala na yung ELA 1.2 class debate. Guys, remove the ELA 1.2 class debate. Okay. Then, sa chapter 2, this is about vision mission. I have illustrated something to you. And then, yung recent practice ng Google, okay, as a company, not as a service provider, but as a company, they're using OKRs in their planning instead of a very extensive and a separate exercise. In the old practice, we define our objectives separately, and then we work our KRA differently. So we just base it based on our strategic directions. But in this case, they would like to define their objectives based on the strategy. Okay, they have to match that with the strategy. Then, based on the objectives, they are directing to the creations of the key results. So that is why in your page 26, 27, anong page yan hanggang 28 of the course pack, that's where I integrated the OKR. Recent practice ito ng mga strategic management practitioners. So I inserted it here for everyone to follow a certain steps. Okay? Kasi madalas sa mga planning hindi nagmamatch, kaya every time I invite, like for example, local consultancy ko dito, though I signed mga kontrata na confidential, may iba kasi dito nagpapakonsult sa akin tapos na. Okay? And then, syempre kung tapos na, sabi ko, I may just comment on it. I will not work on it. Kasi ayoko yung yung tawag niyan, mangagaw o eksena. Lain po ilang strategic, then these are known persons also in the city. So ayoko namang makipag dyan. So pero kasi insisted sila, they wanted to have my words over the plans. So minsan may binisita akong isang company dito na nagpasilip sa akin ng kanilang strategic directions. sir, kasi ganito yung pinagawa sa amin ni yan. So, no, when I check on the work, sabi ko, ay, ano pa to ma'am? Parang old practice. Like, ang pangalan pa ng libro nito, business policy. So ngayon, ang libro, pangalan na ng business policy na libro ngayon is strategic management. Ang layo na po. Pang 50s pa yung strategy making na ganon. But I know that strategic management was gaining its popularity and acceptance to replace business policy was just it started on the late 70s actually. Pero they gained the right time in the late 90s na rin. 90s, early 90s, basta 90s. So nung nagkaroon na siya ng popularity, so that's the time that medyo nabura na sa lahat ng alam niyo ba ang NDU na ang may curriculum pa sila noon na hindi pa maka-move on yung mga teacher. During the time when I handled the course, ang pangalan pa ng subject na ito ay Business Policy and Strategic Management. Tinanggap ko lang, pero nireview ko talaga, kinausap ko ang dean. The dean that time was Ma'am Pia. Ma'am Dean, parang the business policy and strategic management is quite yung parang sabog-sabog na tayo by pangalan. So kasi ganun daw ang binigay ng so and so forth. So nag-research ako kasi I got already the background of replacing the business policy with strategic management. So nung nakita ko na yung mga references ko, present ko kay Ma'am Pia. Sabi niya, sige lang, pag re-revise natin ng curriculum, let's remove that one. So, kaya yung ibang mga ate natin, mga kuya natin, ang pangalan pa ng subject nila, Business Policy and Strategic Management. Kaya nga sabi ko, ang strategic management kasi, part of it is the creations of policies. And these policies is a product of the direction. Kasi pag nag-create ka ng bagong directions, nagkakaroon kayo ng mga objectives. And when you're going to have that objectives, you have to create a company policy for that to be secured, for that to be assured of clear implementation. Kumbaga, tagaan mo sila dalan para ma-implement through your policy. Okay? So, ganun yung context. By the way, may tanong. May tanong po. Okay, wala. Walang sasalita. Oo, nandyan pa tayo.
Yes, sir.
Ako, nilamon na ako na magsalita mag-isa, nasanay na ako. Kaya, I have to remind myself, hoy, baka wala na kay estudyante. Okay. So, yung nasa course pack ninyo ng mga worksheets are akong nag-develop niyan. You can practice on how to assess a good vision mission. Na someday you'll be asked to silipin mo nga itong vision natin kung tama ba to. Maybe that's a guide also in the chapter 2. You're going to do all the activities in the chapter 2. And then on the chapter 3, we're talking about external environment. So maybe we can start now by asking you guys to review your, supposedly I'm going to give a quiz, pero kapoy na quiz anyway. I promise ba akong kuan. So ang quiz na lang natin by group. Okay, ngayon kasi may 6 groups na tayo. May 6 groups na tayo. Baka yung unang grupo doon na nag-comment, let me introduce first the competitive profile matrix. So what is this for? Teka, parang mali ang atraka ko. Can we just go back first to the case? Hindi pa natin na sino yun siya? Si MCD, si McDonald's. Okay. Na-open niyo ba yung McDonald's ninyo? Currently, did you print it or mag-rely lang tayo sa kopya natin ngayon dito sa online? Okay, mahirap kasi mag-open. Pwede sundan nyo na lang ako. Magkwento na lang ako. Okay. In your McDonald's case, in any cases that we're going to work, okay, here are some guidelines now. If you would like to really get the situations of the case. So what is the case all about? Is it a problematic scenario? Would there be some issues and problems, or um, did the company find it difficult to adjust with the new environment or something? Or did the company is facing something that they could not handle anymore? So you can find those things probably on the first few paragraphs before they will be start talking about the company, the history, the structure. Before they're going to talk about it, nandoon na yan sa first few paragraphs. And then there's sometimes there are some reiterations, or sometimes they call it conclusion, just like in the McDonald's, they use the term conclusion on the last part of the case. Okay, so that's where you could be able to create, to understand how are you going to respond to the case. Okay, meron tayong nasa yung worksheets na ile-lecture ko, it's just a supplement because that is the major meat of your answer of the case. But the way you're going to present the report and the way you will be assessed will be based on page 173 of your course packs. Kindly open to your course packs, please. So you have there the Power Walks outline. I personally designed, rearranged, recomposed, and termed it Power. In some of the other books, they used walks. So ako naman, para meron naman akong sariling dignidad, nag-create ako ng ganito. And then my former students in the MBA are introducing this to NDC, introducing this to may mga graduates sa inyo ng ng senior high sa NDU, right? Kung meron, malamang na-introduce ito ng some of the teachers who were under me, yung WACS na tinawag nilang Power WACS online. So just read the guidelines. I'm expecting you to present by part, the introduction, yung power coming from the meat of the outline of your report, which is the problem of the case, the objective of the case, okay, the workable alternatives, the evaluation of alternatives, and the last one will be of course, your respond or your recommendation as a final answer of the case. So there are some basic suggestions on how you could be able to present your final content of the report. Okay, that is on how you're going to respond to the case. The next content in page 179, this is the outline of how you are going to manage your informations in preparing your actual plan of an adapted company. So these are the outline of informations you need to gather. Okay, so you are going to present this outline of information together with all the contents of the analysis. And then on the page 183, you just remove all those worksheets, all of those important answers you have presented into the actual strategic plan of an adapted company, then come up with a story of your case. And that is in the last page, page Appendix D, the writing of business case study in page 183. So that's it. That's how you're going to work on the items. Sorry, work on the final requirements or major requirements of the course. And then I hope that we could be able to respond to the last part. It's an important thing of evaluating the activities of the strategic management. I'm not afraid if the activities is not that valuable to you or important. There's a 2 evaluation there in page 189. I want you to assess every time we finish certain activities. Try to assess it, how important it is for this course. How important it is for this course. And then you assess also when you answer the activities, when you work on the activities, were you satisfied? Like, for example, strategic management model, the way I explained the strategic management model to you, is that important for you, important for this course? And then, were you satisfied during the explanations? Then, I want the assessments to run here with dates. You sign, then you put the dates so that I could be able to validate those who really evaluate immediately and those who evaluate it late. Klaro? Nasa page 189 po yan. Tapos sa last part, you can give me some comments and suggestions. Don't worry, I'm not that insecure. Kung if you would like to comment seriously, okay ra. That will help me improve. Bisag tigulang nako, I need to improve too. Okay? Then, lahat ng ELA, nandyan lahat ng ELA natin. And then, lahat yung may issues, review for discussions, sinulat ko rin dyan. Ang meron lang, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7. Some chapters doesn't have that because it's not about the content. It's about worksheets. Okay? Lalo yung chapter 3. Ang chapter 3 natin talks about baka nahirapan kayo, naka-sharing ng screen. Okay. Wala ako kung naka-share ba ako ng screen. Okay. Pakita tayo ng nawong. Okay, I'm back. So in your chapters 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, merong yung issues and discussions because these are yung other than the worksheets I wanted you to work. May mga general contents yan for discussions. Pero yung very specific ako on the requirements that following my own designs of the workshops or the worksheets. Sa chapter 3, I think chapter 3 talks about external factors. Chapter 4 talks about internal factors. Tama? Internal 3 is external, 4 is okay. Internal ata ang 4. Nauna ang external sa ating So, very specific kasi yung aking pinapagawa dyan sa mga estudyante, something to do with the worksheets, which we are going to do, guys, through an Excel. Okay? So, as I mentioned, let me go back to the case, how you're going to attack the case. So I mentioned already that you are going to read the first few paragraphs and the last paragraph of the case. That's where you could be able to identify how you're going to concrete your idea of the situation of the company. That's how we are going to work with cases. And then the content inside of the case, usually they are going to start structure, history. Ganyan naman talaga yung mga case, no? And then meron kang idea na klaro talaga to have a separations between internal and external environments. So doon sa case natin, paano ba yun? Sana may printout ako kasi ang hirap i-open sa online. Doon sa case natin, you will notice that the first few paragraphs talks about a certain scenario that resulted out of the newly acquired business by McDonald's. Okay, ano yung nila? It's about the company that introduces, meron na silang Mac Cafes. So yung Mac Cafes na yan yung bagong negosyo ng McDonald's integrated in their McDonald's famous product lines. So this Mac Cafes is a result of actually McDonald's acquisition of a coffee company, and this would mean that their new competitors will be redefined. So kung dati, hindi nila kalaban ng coffee shop, Ngayon kalaban na nila si Starbucks. So this case presented something very, kumbaga, talagang major turnarounds. Like, saan ba si McDonald's lagi nako-compare? So currently, siguro baka magkaroon kayo ng updated case nito, itapat nyo na si Jollibee. Pero ang tanong, si Jollibee ba ay nakatapat ba talaga siya sa lahat ng McDonald's in the world? Or maybe you just depict a scenario where certain operations of McDonald's that operates that being hit by this competing Filipino store. Ang exciting yan. By the way, if you would, yung sa isang requirements natin na you're going to create your actual company dahil pandemic, hindi nga kayo pwedeng lumabas. Sabi ni Kim Chu, bawal lumabas. So it's important for me na i-open natin yung possibilities. Hindi naman siya possible. Okay. Nung una ko kasi itong hinawakan ng subject na ito, yung mga kabatch pa ng ate ni Ma'am Caceres. Imagine yung ate pa ni Ma'am Caceres. Nung estudyante ko sila in 2003. Imagine mo, 2003. How many years ago is that? Nung 2003, baka nga baby pa kayo niyan. Baby pa ba kayo niyan? O don't tell me may hindi pa pinanganak, sobra na rin kayo sa akin. Third year na baya mo, di ba? Nasa 2021 na kayo. So, galit ba kung matanda na? Okay. Yung sa ate ni Ma'am Caceres, na-excite ako sa grupo na yon. Bakit? Because they wrote the Smuckers. And then another group wrote Pepsi Company. Another group work on San Miguel Corporations, pero mabagal yung respond ng San Miguel. So ang pinaka-successful sa kanila in terms of data gathering, itong si Smuckers. Kasi pati yung recent board resolutions pinadala sa kanila. That's how open the Smuckers with regards to their positions. Pero they are asking also that they will be furnished the copy of the case. Okay, and suggested answers. So they wanted also to protect na meron silang masabi, ma-defend kung sakali maging went public itong mga documents na to. Okay, so sa chapter 1 ng libro, you'll be guided where to visit, the sites and everything sa McDonald's. So kung gusto nyo yung cohesion case natin na McDonald's, i-update nyo lang yan and then you can come up with the new McDonald case by looking at the context of sa Asia ba na McDonald's, for example, where naningkamot si Jollibee to go with, i-monitor nyo muna ang performance ni Jollibee tapos gawin yung bagong competitor si Jollibee. Diba? Malay natin, pag binigay nyo yan doon sa McDonald's company, ma-realize nila labad yun sa ulo ni si Bubuyog na ito. Okay, so balik naman ako ulit doon sa case na sabi ko nga pag nasa loob na ng case, makikita nyo na yung separations ng content ng internal tsaka external. So the way this case presented the content, nagsimula siya by giving the wrap-up history lang, mabilis ang history, and then bigla na lang mga financial statements, sandamukal na financial statement, the structures of the company, and so on and so forth. Mapuputol lahat ng internal scenario nito pag makakita kayo ng word na external situation or external environment. So in this case sa McDonald's, wala namang sinabi kung internal or external. So hindi siya properly defined in terms of heading of internal and external situation. It's up to you guys kung when you write your own case later sa last part na requirement kung ganun din kayong gagawa ng case. So wala akong requirements for that. Okay lang sa akin kung gusto nyong i-specify para to really help the students who will be answering your case. Pangarap ko yan guys. I have done that in the graduate school. So ngayon, baka next revision ng course pack, may mga cases na dyan na gawa ninyo. Kaya galingan nyo paggawa. Kaya isasama ko kayo lahat dyan. Lahat ng output ng mga cases ninyo na chokes sa aking pananaw, chocks in terms of content, but of course, with earlier permissions, you are going to allow me, whether you like it very much, you're going to allow me to edit all your works. Kasi nga, baka I would like to repackage it to the content na yung problema mas ma-define yung problem. Okay, so naputol yung mga ano dito nung sinabi niya na yung word na competitors. So this is a signal that you will understand what is internal and external. So that will open our next concern. How am I going to identify, sir, that that content is an internal thing and that content is an external thing? Okay. So that is why I have to share paano ba i-explain yung internal at saka external. Okay, kasi I'll be asking you guys to write critical factors today. Kaya pa ba? Oh, kaya pa yan. Okay, I'll be asking you guys to attempt to give me an idea of a critical factor later. And then at least makita ninyo kung paano natin gagawain ng lahat. But for the meantime, since I earlier talked about the competitors, baka uunahin ko na lang muna ang CPM. So we have two concerns now. How are we going to segregate the internal and external factors and then analyze the CPM? Pero mas gusto ko atang simulan ang internal versus external factors. Okay, so madali lang yan. In your course pack, nasa chapter 3 ang external environment. So pwedeng pakibuksan lang muna sa course pack before I will be sharing the my screen with you. Nasa chapter na kayo? Chapter 3. Okay. So, I'll give you the entire picture, meaning to say I'll be talking chapter 3, chapter 4, and at the same time, where's that SWOT? SWOT is somewhere in chapter 6. Chapter 5. So I'll be crossing the 3 chapters, explaining things. Okay. So this is the picture. Nakikita niyo na aking screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So this is the picture earlier. Sabi ko sa inyo na when we are doing the SWOT analysis, you're going to see the matching of this S means strengths, weaknesses. This one is opportunities and threats. So we are going to match it by critical factors. So how are we going to write the critical factors? So this is how I illustrate writing critical factors. Okay, few reminders. When we say internal factors, the internal factors meaning to say strengths, weaknesses. And please remember the time mode of these things are, okay, mga nakaraan natin yan, mga nakalipas. Ibig sabihin na pagdaanan. So how are you going to write the content of your strengths and weaknesses? It should sound like it happened. Okay, so naka-past tense siya. Pagdating naman sa external opportunities and threats, okay, dapat it sounds like a pressing future. Kasi kung nangyari yan ngayon at naramdaman natin na medyo matindi ang epekto, pos ang epekto ay parang magtagal pa, parang itong pandemic na to, pressing future ang context natin dyan. So therefore, you really have to express it in a parang continuing experience o an ongoing pressures. So parang suggestion in writings, dapat other than, hindi naman purely na naka-future tense lahat ng statement, but there are other way of writing it, basta nagmumuka siyang pressing you up to the future. Okay? That it will continue to exist for a certain future times. So another thing, avoid confusing positive and negative statements, misuse of words, especially yung mga ano nga tawag, yung mga prefixes na an, im, mga ganon. Okay. So just make sure that you stick to the, kasi minsan may mga negative word na pag nilagyan mo ng nagiging nilagyan ng prefix, nagiging positive, no? So, or the other way around. So just make sure that your statements are in a positive implications when you are completing the sentence. So, pag strengths, dapat klaro sa iyo yan, it's positive implications. Okay? Pag opportunity, it has positive implications. So, pag sinabing weaknesses, negative, threats, negative. So, where are we going to contextualize, sir, the positive and the being negative? So think of it like it's in our company's implications. Kasi kahit yung strengths, nasa atin na yan. Yung opportunities, hindi pa yan natin hawak. Pero may implication sa atin. Okay? Where our reference is ourselves. Maaring negative implications ang pagkasulat ninyo kagaya nito, pwede mo mangyari yan. May negative implications to other companies, pero kaya nyo sinulat yung negative implications to other company kasi nga may positive effect sa atin. But you have to be very careful of adding items like explaining. Kasi dapat hindi magmukhang explanation. Okay? It's pure descriptions. Okay, take note, critical factors must be pure descriptions. So these critical factors will be placed in this area, the outer boxes. So strengths and weaknesses are all internals, opportunities and threats are all internals. So the inner boxes now, these are your prescriptions. These are the content or the ideas you are prescribing the company to do. Why are we prescribing the company something for them to do? Because we're assessing, we're cross-analyzing environments for them to be able to identify new ideas for the organization. So for example, there are ideas that is being product of the combinations of strengths and opportunities that will develop SOs. Anong SOs? Combination lang yan ng S tsaka O. But the implications of SOs are actually positive outside environment plus positive inside environment. There should be something like growth, improvements, developments. That will be the idea of this box. Okay? When we match the S and the T, okay, though we are internally strong and external is negative, has a negative implication, like pandemic ngayon, external may threat, tapos strength naman natin, mataas ang ating resistensya. So you put a suggestion here. Then if you suggest when you go out, you observe social distancing, again, okay. So this will be a situation where you're taking advantage of your event, okay, for you to be able to be protected from the coming threats. So, kailangan ganun yung context ng mga SO. So, kahit na alam nating may strength tayo dyan, pero gumawa pa rin tayo ng activities how we could be able to totally protected from this pressing threat. Okay, our objective is totally to lessen the impact of threat if not totally eliminated. So yun ang objectives natin in writing ideas over this box. So to the other side, okay, in this area, so weakness is being matched with an opportunity. So we're getting healing from the outside to heal inside. So this is a scenario where we're taking advantage of the external factor in order for us to improve or to correct a negative internal factor. So that's the purpose of this box. Okay? And then WT, so this is the first. Kasi pagdating sa energy, this is a positive energy. This is a negative positive energy. This is a positive negative energy. This is a negative negative energy. Negative na inside, negative pa outside. So what will be the context of this box? Okay, we will try. Okay, in this box, we tried our best not to create more scenario to worsen internal and allow the threat to ruin the company, okay, in a worst impact. So kaya kailangan this context, parang nare-recognize natin na may kahinaan tayo, at the same time may dumarating na threat, but we are still doing something. Okay, we need to have a specific decisions or activities that may try to block, or at least siguro kung hindi natin talaga ma-block, at least lessen na lang yung impact ng threat to us. And at least hindi worsen yung internal scenario. Okay, so far, do we have any questions, clarification? Na-notice ninyo, kung wala, dire-diretso ako. Na-notice ninyo yung pagsusulat natin ng internal at saka external factors. I have a favorite example now. This is the recent results of our strategic planning. When NDO administrators was divided in the control arm, so will BARM presence in Cotabato City be an opportunity or threat? And a lot of them would say, we have to put there, we have to put as a threat, we have to put as an opportunity. So I stand up and say, Ma'am, sir, we really have to decide. Or else, pag hindi tayo nag-decide kung saan talaga ang BARM, either as an opportunity or as a threat, then the next steps will suffer. So, nandito kami sa portion na ito by practice. Nag-critical factors kami. So, we have to settle. So, ganun din sa inyo, pag naggrupo kayo, you have to settle kung ano ba talagang gagawin ninyo. Kasi if you're not going to settle whether that should be part of external threat or external opportunity, dito tayo magkakatalo when we're doing the SWOT. Okay. Imagine you have written context of BARM here full of positivity. Tapos, in this case naman, you're going to write BARM here full of negativity. Ibig sabihin, the ideas being positioned is to deal with the negative BARM. Dito naman, to deal with the positive BARM. Okay, so pagdating mo ng pagplanchada mo nitong mga content na to, pag next layer mo dyan, masamukan ka, masusurprise ka. Like, how are you going to write that as a strategic directions? On the final end, if you have to weigh things about the presence of BARM in Cotabato City, what will happen to your final strategic directions? How are you going to write with that? You get me? So you really have to decide. The earliest is the critical factors. And these are your earliest inputs in the process. So imagine yung critical factors ninyo, papasok yan sa summary of internal, sa summary ng external, tapos papasok yan sa SWOT, tapos papasok yan sa strategy development, tapos yung strategy ninyo na ma-define, papasok sa strategic direction. Yung strategic directions ninyo, papasok sa revision ng mga objectives, yung KRA, PI. Imagine that the error starts here. Garbage in, garbage out. So this is my favorite line to really, that is why in my classes, I really spend a lot of time here. Okay? Kasi kung hindi, naku, magbalik-balik atong trabaho pag abot dito sa, ay bakit kasi ito ang strength mo? Bakit kasi magsisihan pa tayo sa dulo na ipa-revise ang work? Kawawa ang bata. I'm not that kind of teacher na ipa-revise lahat kaagad-agad. Kung nandyan na kasi nagkamali na ng sala earlier stage, consider it. So I will not be very considerate pagdating dito. Okay? Kasi bahala na medyo alanganin ang pasok ng the later part. Basta yung pagpasok ninyo dito, tama na yung inyong mga critical factors. Okay. So, but before we will seriously, sige daw be, unahin ko na lang yan bago tayo mag-CPM. So I have assigned, you are in 10 groups. So let me ask you how are you going to write your critical factors? I have presented already the guide. So I have marked here group 1, sila ang magbibigay ng opportunity 1. So ang group 10, sila magbibigay ng opportunity 10. Okay, and so on by number. Okay, and then coming from all of your answers of opportunities, we will discuss. Okay, what are we going to adapt is only 5. So iti-thematic analysis natin ito, then ipa-finalize natin yung statements dito. Okay, so can I ask now one group to give me the idea? Okay, can I ask Matos Group, Walmart and Walt Disney Group? Guys, can you give me one external critical factors? Oh, so saan nyo hahanapin yan? Doon sa case, nagsimula doon sa creditors and other things. Wait, ready ba talaga tayo? Saan na si Miss Mato? Miss Mato.
Ay, sir. Mawala-wala kasi, sir.
Okay. So I asked your group, you can mention them to open their mic as well, your group members. If I'll be asking you of any critical factors, external critical factor about the McDonald's. It could be in our context now, we have to select opportunities. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Mm. Sino nga yung kagrupo mo?
Si Usman and Torshende po.
Okay, Osman and Torshende, you can help Ms. Matu discussing what particular part of the case where we can identify a critical factor, particularly opportunity.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, let's discuss. While others are listening, they're going to have their time also. So I'm working on one group. So I have a copy here to look at every time you're going to talk about particular pages. Ano na?
Sir, wait lang po, sir.
Mhm. So probably you can get an idea from the competitor and down to ilang pages pa yan. May mga external threats pa na before conclusion. You have 4 pages to source out the idea.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Go. Si Usman would
Sir,
like
siguro,
to... Oh, sige, go. I'll
siguro,
pin
sir,
you, Miss Usman.
isa po sa mga naging opportunity po ng McDo sa Starbucks po is yung pagkakaroon nila ng value meals kung saan McDo is much more cheaper than the Starbucks po. So, naging advantage po nila yun sa part nila.
Advantage sa part nila. So meaning to say nila would mean that that's internal context. So hindi siya external context. Okay. I'm realizing something. There should be a clear separations of statement of internal and external. So anything that happened to our company already and we are owning and enjoying it already, that's no longer external. It's already internal. So an external environment is something that is not yet ours or not yet done by the company, but it's readily available within the environment for us to pick up. Okay, so ganun dapat yung ating pagtingin doon sa external environment. So ano kaya sa tingin ninyo ang magiging opportunity natin?
Yung global expansion po.
Sinong mag-global expansion?
Yung sa McDo po.
Okay, kung si McDo pa rin ang context mo na mag-global expansion, internal pa rin yun. So ano ba ang, you really have to redirect the context, no? Anong dahilan o anong meron sa isang lugar para puntahan ni McDonald's? Yun siguro ang magandang opportunity. But if you're talking about an opportunity of McDonald's as something that McDonald's is planning to work on or already working on, baka hindi na siya maging external, magbuka siyang internal. Okay, another basic thing when you're writing external factors, avoid writing the name of the company. Kasi pag nandun yung pangalan ng company, immediately it will sounded like internal. Okay?
Okay po, sir.
Okay. Try to look at additional other options of your sources. Yes. Di ata tayo ready. Can I ask the group of Silongan? Where is Miss Silongan? Silongan. Bakit nasa chat ka lang? Can you open your mic at least? Silongan, where are you? Silongan. Okay, who's your group members? I'll pin the other members if you cannot speak right now because of... So hanggang kailan tayo magsasabi na may sira ang mic ng laptop? Hanggang kailan tayo makakarinig ng ganyan? Are we not prepared that we are going to have this method? Guys, I know guys that even cell phones can be a good tool already using for online classroom. Pendaliday and Salazar. Anyone from you guys? Where's Pendaliday and Salazar? Yes, okay. Can you give me an opportunity of the case? Na, anong mangyari sa atin?
Ay sir, ano po ulit yung question?
What happened to you? Where were you? We're having our plenary workshop. We're actually starting. I'm asking each group to give me your group's critical factor. I just wanted to have 1 or 2 or 3 sana. Pero saan ba pala kayo? So next time I will not allow off screen. Kasi parang may ibang milagrong nangyayari while it's happening. Okay? Sige, Miss Silongan, gusto mo magbigay ng isang opportunity. I'm asking your group to give me opportunity for McDonald's coming from the case. You do not expect that the case will write exactly as required by the written case analysis. Minsan, ang statements are stated differently that you really have to restate. The content of the case may be direct to competitors, but it has something to tell us, to our company. Okay, baka nahirapan kayo sa opportunities. I'll offer threats. Okay, kasi very specific sa case nakalagay. Can you give threat now, group of Silongan? Okay, Miss Silongan? Nasa accountancy ba ako? Okay. Mangarap pa ako ulit. Doon naman ako sa grupo nila, nila Miss Taib. Miss Taib. Si Miss Taib around.
Sir,
Yes, Miss Taib. Ay, Miss Taib ba itong kausap ko? O Zapra?
Miss
Zapra ata
po,
itong
sir.
nag-active. Okay, Zapra, okay. Sige, baka may tanong ka. Ano man?
Sir, ang one threat na naisip ng grupo namin, sir, is ang McDonald's is may direct relationship between diet and health po.
Threat.
Opo, threat.
No?
Opo.
Threat yan or opportunities?
Threat po.
So, how are you going to describe a complete statement telling us that kind of relationship to health and diet that may pose threat to McDonald's?
Sir, meron po kasing study na stated dito na
Mm-mm.
na 5.2% increase in obesity rate in schools dahil po sa mga fast food na restaurants, sir.
Okay, finalize that statement. I think I'm happy for that. Okay, I'll encode that here as a threat. Hindi pa ako naka-code sa grupo ninyo pero I'll just give you the slot on the threat number 1. What's the statement again? Hello? Can you finalize a statement of descriptions of threat to McDonald's?
Sir,
Where is Miss Sapra?
Sir. Sir, sabi,
Okay, kasi I moved to the Excel because I wanted to write your statements because this will be posted as an update to your stream for you to follow up. Kasi every time we're going to have our practice case, you're also doing with your adapted cases. Kaya gusto ko meron akong ma-attach sa stream. You can download it and every end of the meetings, we will update it. Okay? So kaya hindi ko na kayo tinitignan kung ano, kasi ikaw na ang kausap ko. Then okay na yung statement. I'm already accepting the statement. Just finalize it so that I could help. Okay, what is that? Miss Sapra.
Healthy lifestyle trends, sir. Pwede bang ganun, sir?
Wala pa akong nakikita. Oo. Ano yung sinasabi mong percentage? Associated to obesity, whatever.
Fast food restaurants within 500 feet of school is associated with at least 5.2% increase in the obesity rate.
Again, finalized it.
Sir, wait lang.
Ano naman sa harapan ninyo kasi very direct naman yung mga ano. Okay, just reconstruct it like it sounded like a threat to, it has a negative implication to the business of McDonald's. So please remember, I'll display it again. Ang hirap nitong maglipat-lipat ng screen. Okay, I'm still talking to you, Ms. Sapra, and you can invite your group mates. I'll present now in the group my entire screen. I'm working on that Excel, and so that everyone can follow. So it's like our Blackboard. So dito ako, okay? So remember, you're about to talk about threats. Yeah? And then I want you to state that negative implications to the business of McDonald's that may sound like it will continue to press threats to McDonald's in the future. So please remember these items. I'm not putting here for you to memorize. I'm putting here to be reminded on how you're going to state the threats. So these are the requirements on how you're going to state the threats. It should be a negative implications to the McDonald's in our practice case, in our company, our cohesion case. So make sure that that negative implication as a threat will continue to be there up to the future. So just reconstruct it, little reconstructions kasi very specific naman yung mga threats na sinulat dyan sa case. Wala namang ano, parang i-extract mo pa, extrapolate mo pa. Okay? Sige. And I'm working on this para ma-document ko lang yung mga sinuggest. And this will be our plenary answers. So I'm expecting you to have your own group's answer. Sige. Miss Zapra,
Yes,
ang ganda
sir.
na ng mga sinabi mo. Use just a little, ano na lang.
5.2 increase in obesity rate, insignificant health benefits of fast food restaurants.
Okay, so siguro slowly din, no? Hindi ba ako
Sorry,
robot?
sir.
So 5.2% increase in
Obesity rate,
obesity rate
insignificant
is, ano na?
insignificant health benefit.
Okay, meron pang descriptor. Insignificant
Health benefit
health benefit
of fast food restaurants.
of fast food restaurants. Okay. Nakikita mo ba yung aking Excel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nababasa mo yung nakasulat. I-review natin yan. We'll try to review it. So, anong sinasabi ko? How are we going to write? critical factors. Dapat klaro ang negative implications to the company McDonald's in our question case. And at the same time, it will continue to press McDonald's by a number of years because of this result. So, sa tingin mo tama na siya o may kulang?
Sir,
Mm-mm.
kulang pa po.
Yes, kulang pa. So anong kulang? Yung negative implications ba o yung future, pressing future part ng requirements?
Pressing future po.
Okay. So alam naman natin may negative implications itong issue na to kasi 5.2% increase obesity rate, insignificant health benefits of fast food restaurant. So isinasabi sa kanila na binibintang na yan kay fast food restaurant where McDonald's is also a fast food restaurant.
Yes,
So
po.
paano yung parang it will continue to press us in the future? Saan na part? Anong idagdag natin?
Wait. Sir, sorry, wait.
Sige, I'm helping you. I'm going to read that portion.
Saan ito?
Okay. Okay, it's in the paragraph of a joint research study recently conducted at the University of California, Berkeley, and Columbia University, and published in March 2009, concluded that, this is the result of the study, that the presence of fast food restaurant within 500 feet of school is associated with at least 5.2% increase in the obesity rate in that school. So parang nawala din tayo ng ng context. Suggesting significant health benefits of banning fast food restaurants close to schools if communities are interested in fighting growing epidemic of obesity among young adolescents in America. So I think mas gusto ko yung nasa later part ng mga statements. In fighting the growing epidemic of obesity among young adolescents. Or the earlier of this paragraph, it has mentioned there the growing awareness among the medical and scientific community, as well as the public of direct relationship between diet and health. Pero kulang, no? So baka portion of that content may help us by identifying the particular, may pa-research pa, pero mas magklaro ang magiging threat natin dito if it is being considered as epidemic of obesity among young adolescents in America. So, can you reconstruct by putting into context that there will be some growing awareness and campaign to ban schools, or pwede mo i-associate for specific measurement. You pick up the 500 growing interests to, or awareness and interest to ban school 500 feet, to ban fast food chain 500 feet within the school area. So who contributed, associated to the increase of obesity, or hindi na obesity ang gamitin natin, pwede yung um, associated to the growing epidemic of obesity among young adolescents in America. So try to work on that area of the paragraph, and maybe we could be able to finalize our statements. So ito yung sinasabi ko na you can suggest piece by piece. Pwedeng ganito ang mangyayari. Let's say, I'll just write down 3 ideas here coming from the same context. Tapos itry natin to develop one final statement here. Okay, so let's see na the first group really attempted to suggest growing awareness of among medical and
Scientific community.
and scientific community. Growing awareness among medical and scientific community, as well as the public. Growing awareness of among medical, scientific community, and
Public of direct relationship.
public of the direct relationship of diet and ano ba yan?
Health.
Health. Direct relationship between diet and health. Ganun ka-sensitive sa Amerika. Atin nga, mga eskwelahan natin, paligiran na ng mga candidates sa ansa to. Wala pa tayong pakialam. Okay. So, another area, we can select on, what's your statement kanina about the results of the study? We will start with the distance of the school. What's the distance of the school?
500 feet po, within 500 feet.
Okay, the presence of fast food. Okay. The presence of fast food. Ayan, the presence of, nawawala ang mata ko, hindi ko makita. The presence of fast food restaurants. Restaurant within 500 feet. Tama ba yan?
Opo, of a school.
With the presence of a school is associated
With at
to
least
with at least. Ano yung with at least?
a 5.2%
Associated with at least 5.2 increase to the
in the
obesity
obesity rate
percent in the obesity rate
in that school.
at school. Tama na? Okay. Then the last one is something to do we really have to reconstruct this one. Banning fast food restaurants. Yun doon start. Banning fast food. Ano bang fast food? One word? Kasi ito yung nakadash. Ang alam ko, one word. Okay, anyway. Ano ba yun? Banning fast food restaurants. Close to the school communities. Ano ba yan? Pwedeng schools na lang. Banning fast food restaurants close to the schools will have significant health benefits. Okay. So for discussion purposes, how are you going to make this 3 ideas into one concrete idea as a threat to McDonald's? Okay, so I have very limited time already, and we still have to go to CPM para makahabol tayo doon sa ibang grupo. Anyone or any other group member would like to work on this, or would you like to have more time muna on your group? Kasi naaawa naman ako doon sa aking mga tinatawag. 'Di ba? Parang ano na naman sila. Parang na-expose sa parusa. Okay, so okay, yung threat naman daw po is yung competition, okay? It's easy to pick up one word, but I want you to construct the concrete statement because yan yung problema na sinasabi ko with my consultancy in doing the strategic planning. Sabi nila, sir, competitors. Yan. Sa kanila sabi na, competitors. Tapos sinulat na nila mga pangalan ng competitors. So nung sabi ko sa kanila, ma'am, do you think it's possible for us to exist without competitors? Sabi niya, no. There is always that competitors around. So sabi ko naman ulit, then how come they are your threat? Sabi naman niya, kaya nga sir, threat sila kasi competitors sila. So mahirap magkaintindihan ng ganyang context, guys. I want you to learn on how to write specific context on what makes that competitor as a threat. Kasi posibleng, for example, tayo, NDU tayo, marami tayong competitors dyan. Sige, ipagtapat kaya natin yung ibang school sa atin. So, siguro ang pinaka nakaka-threat sa atin, probably, yung nag-iisang public school natin. You know why? Kasi nga, talagang malayo sa tuition, no? Pero kung pareho tayong private school, I don't know, if you are seeing the context of, how among private school can compete in terms of quality teachers, in terms of facilities, in terms of, 'di ba? So parang hindi basta-basta matreten ang NDU kay nagpapintura ang laing eskwelahan, nagwapo ilang eskwelahan, matreten ang NDU anak. So that is why I'm asking you guys to clearly state what was that negative implications to the company, in our case, McDonald's, and how are you going to state to make it like a pressing future concern of, okay, and avoid to sweeping statements. Okay, I read the suggestions of Silongan, competitors risking quickly. So, hindi, kailangan ko ng detalye, hindi ako makapag-work ng ganyan. Kasi, why we need details? Okay. Why we need details? We need details because when we are going to have this, when you are writing something about ang sinulat natin kanina threat, let's say, threat at saka strengths. Pagdating natin dito sa part na ito, pag nagsulat tayo, kung nakalagay lang sa strengths, let's say, sinabi natin, ano bang magandang sinabi? Na hindi ko matanggap-tanggap about strengths. Let's say, sinabi mo lang sa strengths na the oldest, the first college or the only university, NDU, let's talk about NDU, the only university in the area of Cotabato. Tapos sinabi mo dito, ang threat natin is, let's say, ano bang magandang threat? Ang threat natin, for example, the only threat natin is, let's say, migration of teachers to public school kasi mas malaki ang sweldo sa public school. Diba? Very specific. Migration of teachers. Pero kung sinabi mo lang dito, competitors. Tapos older university, the only university in Cotabato City. Tapos sinabi mong threat, competitors. Sige daw, pag-aralan mo, paano ka makasuggest ng idea dito na may competitors at saka the only university? So can you develop a specific activity or directions for that? Na meron kang iniisip na only university tapos sa kabila, iniisip mo competitors? Paano yan? Paano ka makaisip ng idea? Okay? Pero kung sinabi mo dito na the only university in the Cotabato City with ganyan, at par with major universities of neighboring cities in Mindanao. So we're hitting the Mindanao area. And then sinabi mo naman dito sa threat natin, migration of faculty to tawag nito, public schools. Migration of private faculty to public schools. Kasi obvious naman, malaki ang sweldo ng mga, just to give you an idea, a newly hired in the DepEd schools now will be offered 21,000. Pag nag-apply ka sa NDU, bagong teacher, let's say CPA ka na bagong teacher, you'll be receiving only mga 12,000 something. Imaginein mo ang comparison. Gusto mo pa ba rin ba magturo sa NDU? Okay. So ngayon, ano ang gagawin mo ngayon? Being the only university at par in terms of board exam with the neighboring universities in Mindanao. Tapos ito naman ay ang threat ay migration of faculty to so na-imagine niyo kung anong may isusulat niyo dito. Okay? So yan yung sinasabi ko na garbage in, garbage out. Kaya sabi ko magtatagal tayo dito kasi kung ganito itong mamaya, itong tatlo, let's say itong tatlo pumasok as a final element here. Ito sila as a final element, lalabas sila dito sa AFE. Okay? And then lalabas yan sila dito sa, wala pa ako naka-prepare, lalabas sila sa SWOT. So ibig sabihin, kung balikan ko itong SWOT na illustration, kung tatlong threat na yun, so let's say wala ka ng ibang threat na naisip, what will happen to the kind of response using your internal factors? Di ba very limited din? Pareho naman yung context nung iyong threat. Why don't you repackage your threat para magka-stand siya sa concrete, tawag dito, as a concrete factor that you are going to consider to develop a more um, helpful strategic directions for the company. Okay. You don't have to say sorry, Miss Norhara Silongan. I'm happy that you are giving me the context of the students so that I will address. And that is why I'm spending time in explaining on how to write. You know, the difference between me and siguro to some extent of those who are practicing strategic management, I had a very, yung context kasi na gusto kong makabigay ng magandang resulta. So I need to provide or to write a well-informed critical factors. Kasi kung pataka yung ating critical factors, what will happen to the next steps? Kaya meron akong principles na dapat yung tandaan. Garbage in, garbage out. So imagine nyo pag in ka ng garbage from first step, papasok yun siya sa EFE, papasok siya sa SWOT, hanggang final answers natin nandoon siya. So imagine nyo yung idea niya kung sana mas maganda siya, hindi lang yun ang nagawa natin. So since I'm ahead of you guys, so that is why I'm guiding you. Ganun ang talaga role ng teacher, no? Hindi ako yung tipong teacher na okay, gawin nyo yan without any guidance. So that is why I'm guiding you on the earlier steps. Because towards the end, lahat tayo magsasuffer eh. So paano kung hindi ko gusto yung inyong final report? Tsutsugiin ko na lang kayo sa grade, ganun na lang. Eh, sayang naman yung mga previous time natin. Okay? Please concentrate when we are having our lectures because most of your activities after this few weeks, baka iwanan few weeks, kasi weekly tayo, few weeks, baka iwanan ko kayo on your group work. And then I'll be expecting on the final output. So syempre, if you're not putting much of your time here, so most likely, that's a garbage in. So what am I going to expect on your final output? It's a garbage too. So what will happen to your grades? Okay, so let's not talk about grades, but I'm just telling you an idea of where are we going to use the principle of garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so I may not hear your yes or no. I may look or sound crazy here talking about sino pa bang may sinasabi dito sa gilid. Okay. Miss Silongan, wag ka mag-sorry ha. Pero I appreciate your effort in trying to give me some idea to ponder. Based on my observations, McDonald's sales largely depend on economy of a country. Where are you picking that? Economy of a country. Do we have an international records of sales here of country income? Or restaurants, McDonald's restaurants worldwide. Okay, you have that exhibits in. So sales, if we're talking about sales, Silongan, do you think sales are external? Oh, maano tayo dun sa context ng itong nangyayari sa binigay mo is, of course, generally, it will happen if it is really the context. If the economy of the country is having trouble, so most likely all businesses will be having trouble. But under the context of the case, as of this at this point of our reading exercises in the cases here, cases of internal and external, kasi dalawang area ang tinitignan natin. Cases of internal and external situation scenario of this McDonald's. I'm not so sure if we can establish that one. Kasi if we're talking about revenues and naka-context natin yung international sales, hindi siya magiging external kasi sales part of our internal factors. If we're talking about na bumagsak ang sales, part of our weakness. Pag umakyat ang sales, part of our if the reason for experiencing that was due to economic condition of a particular country. So what was that economic thing in that country? Ano ang negative implication on that resulted to the decline in sales? Kailangan ma-capture yon. And then how this particular negative implication will continue to exist. Yun yung dapat na maisulat as a critical factor. Naiintindihan nyo ba ako? Okay, kailangan ko mag-spend ng mahabang panahon nito, but since it's almost 4 o'clock, okay, I don't think I'm thinking about this. Kasi parang I find it not helpful that you turned off your cameras. Kasi I'm thinking lang for the sake of the students. But the way I receive participations this afternoon, it seems like I have to really change my policy. Kasi yung iba hindi rin naman siguro nakikinig. Diba? So I don't know if most of you will agree with me. That is also a security that I'm not wasting my time, or a security also for those who are opening their time for this session. Tapos nagtatagal ako doon sa bagay na well, anyway, it's a work naman kasi first time pa natin magsulat ng mga critical factors. So guys, I'm still presenting my whole screen, and please always remember these things. Ito na lang muna tayo. So far, meron akong sample dyan sa critical factors. Okay? Tapos, nakikita nyo yung T1, T2, and T3. Pwede ba kayong gumawa ng one concrete statement niyan for next meetings sessions? Iiwan ko to sa isang grupo. Pwede kinasilongan ko na lang ito iiwan. Okay? Si Silongan ba na? Sorry. Si Silongan ba ka-grupo ni Miss Sapra?
No,
Hindi.
sir.
No? Okay, Miss Sapra, ito na idea kanina, right?
Yes po.
Okay. So sa grupo ni Miss Sapra, I want you to own the T1, and I want you to develop these 3 items to be your assignment for our new T1. Okay? Sa grupo lang ninyo. Okay.
Nag-message ako.
Okay, sige. Later, okay? Para makapagbigay muna ako ng instructions to everyone. Okay, guys. Para next meeting, medyo productive tayo. I want you to suggest, okay, here are the example per assignment for each group. Okay, so that we can really work faster by next meeting. Each group will be assigned to give me, you don't have to, pwede rin siguro na sa inyo lang muna grupo, no? Isulat nyo lang muna. And then write as much as possible as you can, opportunities and threats, okay? And strengths and weaknesses. Tapos, magtatanong ako sa inyo pa isa-isang grupo to write down here. Okay? Magsusulat kayo doon sa aking naka-display na screen. I'll be writing whatever you are going to dictate. And I don't think that you can edit it kasi nagsishare lang naman ako ng screen. Okay? Ma-edit nyo ba? Parang hindi ata. Well, anyway, so, mapupuno natin itong column na to by next meeting, and then we will try to thematically analyze each of the content. Parang ganito yung nangyayari sa thematic analysis. Kaya I'm hoping kanina na nabuo natin to earlier. Tapos i-group natin, ito kasi na ano nito, na simulate ko na in that paragraph may mga ilang ideas. Tapos i-group natin if this could be placed into one concrete statements. And then that will be our critical factor for McDonald's as our threat number 1. So bahala na yung grupo nila, Miss Sapra. Okay? So mabilis na tayo. So mayroon na tayong T1. Kung magustuhan ko yung idea ng T1 by next meeting, ipoproceed natin sila as final T1. So yung ating mga final T1, remember yung garbage in, garbage out. Kaya we have to process here everything. Dito, process pa lang natin. Para pag nag-final na tayo ng statement, dito natin isusulat. Then eventually, papasok yung lahat ng external factors dito. Then mag-a-assign tayo ng mga ratings and weights here. Okay? So another assignment for each group. So this is the template I prepared. I want you to look at the critical success factors. So try to think with the descriptions of those competitors in the case. Si Burger King, si Yum, si Wendy's, si Starbucks. Doon sa mga description, ano kaya yung pwede nyong i-compare? So what area would that be? Would that be the prices of their product? Would that be the service crew and other things? So yun ang i-identify ninyo as critical success factor. Or maybe some of you, we can just Google it. What do you think are the critical success factors of fast food chains? And then that will give you an idea. Then try to assess that in the these competing companies, kung applicable ba siya dun sa data na available. So if there are other items not available, like data not available in the case, but you think it's worth considering to become a critical success factor, and then you just assess it later according to how you know MCD, Burger King, Yum Brand, Wendy's, and Starbucks. That will be fine with me. Basta hindi lang siya clouded lahat ng kasinungalingan. Anyway, what is important with me, kasi hindi naman natin makuha lahat ng data, kahit may halo yan dyan na chart konti, okay, allow ko yan. But what is important is you will learn the entire worksheets and you will learn your appropriate judgment for later. I'll be asking one group to also explain how to assign weights and then how to rate. Okay, one group, and so on. So that will happen by next meeting. And then, and that's it. Something to expect for next meeting is that hopefully we can finish these critical factors. Magsakit sa atong ulo for this. O ako lang ba magsakit ang ulo? And then pag natapos na natin ito guys, we already have the critical factors, parang mas mabilis na yung mga next steps. Okay? Doon naman tayo magsakit ang ulo sa SWOT. Paano mag-derive na naman ng statements for SO, ST, WO, and WT, and so on. Okay, so it's almost 4 o'clock. Okay. And ayan, may kinoment nga, fast food restaurants within 500 feet of school results increase in epidemic obesity among young adolescents with at least 5.2, suggesting to ban fast food restaurant close to schools in fighting the growing epidemic of obesity. This is quite long, but the content is there are many ways for us to shorten the statements, okay? Baka ma-shorten pa if possible. We will be shorten the statement. Kung kaya pa. Okay, address ito kay Ms. Sapra.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So, para medyo hindi na tayo masyadong magtagal, Kasi mamaya pag masyado namang mahaba yung ating critical factors, yun, the disadvantage of too much and kulang. Kanina kulang kapag sinabi mong competitors lang, tapos nung ginawa namin ganyan, sir, sabi mo naman sobra. I'm preparing you guys for the next steps kasi pag nagmamatch kayo, ang dami mong basahin, te. Magsakit ang ulo mo balik-balik, di ba? I already present to you the next activities na kailangan magmamatch tayo ng dalawang ideas. So magsakit ang ulo niyo pag nagmatch ka. Anong sulat? Ano nga meron doon? Ano nga meron dito? So just get the core of the idea. Okay, so pero okay naman yung content niya, pero masyado lang lengthy. Baka may mga part of the statement that can be removed. Like for example, instead na fast food restaurants, pwede mong gawing fast foods within 500 feet. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So mga ganun, within 500 feet of schools. Okay, just focus on key elements of the content or the thought of that statement. Para dahan-dahan, we will be practicing developing the statement. Okay. So mamaya nito si Miss Sapra na naman ang